planets actually get into orbit in the first place? So this is actually a great question. And our understanding is that, at least in systems like our own, planets actually form in orbit. They actually form going around the star to start with. So we think that stars and planetary systems actually form from nebulae, so clouds of gas and dust, and that gravity pulls them together, starts to clump them together. And in the center of these clumps, we end up with stars. This is where the most material gets concentrated. The more stuff you have in one area, the stronger and stronger the gravity gets. Now, all of those little particles, all of those little bits of material that were in the nebula had a little bit of momentum, right? They were moving around. And as it is squeezed in and compressed because of conservation, that momentum can't just disappear. So we end up with the mass at the center becoming the sun, and a swirling disk of material around it. My favorite analogy for this is pizza dough. So if you've ever seen somebody, like a traditional chef, making pizza, and they take the ball of dough and they kind of toss it up and twist it, and when they spin it, the dough spreads out. That's the same process that we think happened on just a much, much larger scale. So that disk of material, or that dough, that pizza dough that is swirling around the star, is actually the material that the planets themselves formed from. So we think that, at least in the case of the smaller planets, they formed by accretion, where little bits of material in that swirling disk would get close enough that they would start to stick together, they'd start to clump together, and then those clumps would clump to other ones, they'd start to get bigger and bigger until gravity was able to really take over, and you have these huge chunks of material we call planetesimals that would attract each other gravitationally, and they would merge together until we started getting bigger and bigger things, and the planets themselves formed. So from the stage where they were little tiny grains of material all the way to the size of planets, they already were falling around the star, which is pretty awesome to think about.